Hi guys and welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how to make sauerkraut. I consider this to be a genuine superfood. But before we begin, what is a superfood? Well, a superfood is defined as being a nutrient-rich food that's especially beneficial for our health and well-being. Many foods can be considered nutritious, but do they also help with our well-being? Well, sauerkraut and indeed fermented foods in general can help with our well-being. You see, the gut is considered to be our second brain, and we can have up to 6 pounds of bacteria living in there. The good bacteria living in there can help with digestion, immunity, and even influence our mood. The fermentation process which makes sauerkraut is caused by good bacteria called lactobacillus casei. So by eating sauerkraut, we are replenishing the supply of good bacteria living in our guts. By making your own sauerkraut, you can be ensured that you're eating live cultures of this helpful bacteria. So let's begin.
Here's a list of the ingredients you're going to need. 1 head of white cabbage. About 3 teaspoons of sea salt or rock salt, but not ordinary table salt. This is because table salt contains added ingredients that doesn't help with the fermentation process. Now that we've listed the ingredients, let's begin by making the sauerkraut. Firstly, split the cabbage into 4 equal pieces. This will make it easier to chop it up. Next, remove the core from the cabbage. We're only interested in the juicy leaves. Take each quarter and shred them into thin pieces. You can either use a food processor or a knife for this. As you chop each quarter of the cabbage, place the shredded pieces into a large mixing bowl. When you've chopped the whole cabbage, your bowl will be pretty full like this. You can now add the salt. I'm using about 3 teaspoons for a whole head of cabbage. Careful not to add too much salt though, as that may stop the good bacteria from growing. Now you need to get both hands firmly stuck into the cabbage and mix the salt right in. This will help to draw out some of the liquid in the cabbage. Once the salt has been thoroughly rubbed in, you can see that the volume of cabbage has gone right down as the liquid has been drawn out from the leaves. Okay, the next bit is not essential, but what I do guys is to cover up the bowl with a tea towel and leave it for a couple of hours to help to draw out even more of the liquid from the cabbage.
2 hours later.
This is what it looks like after a couple of hours, and as you can see, the volume in the bowl has gone down even further. I mentioned that the previous step of letting the cabbage sit for a couple of hours was optional, but this bit you should definitely do, and that's to take a wooden spoon and bash the cabbage for a few minutes. Again, this will help with the fermentation process. Finally, we can add the cabbage into a jar. Any jar will do, just as long as it's clean. I've seen people use fancy specialist jars for this, but as long as you've prepared the cabbage properly, fermentation into sauerkraut will work just as well using an ordinary jar. Fill the jar all the way to the top and pour in any liquid from the cabbage so that it's all submerged. Fill the jar all the way to the top and pour in any liquid from the cabbage so that it's all submerged. If your jar is not big enough, you may have to use 2 jars like I have done here. Before closing the lid, I'm placing a folded cabbage leaf on top. This will help to keep the cabbage submerged under the liquid. Careful though, as some of the liquid may ooze out of the jar. Leave the jar at room temperature or for about 7 days until the sauerkraut has reached the right level of sourness that you prefer. When it has, then store the jar in the fridge. When in your fridge, fermentation will continue, but at a much slower rate. Thanks guys for watching the video. Subscribe if you haven't already done so, and see you next time.